Inventory steps and realizing generational abuse. In steps 4 and 5, we review in detail how we were raised. We remember the messages, situations, and feelings. We also look at how we react and think in relationships as adults. We tell our story to another person and to God as we understand God. Like step 1, the fourth step of ACA distinguishes our fellowship from other 12-step programs. In ACA, we inventory our family system in addition to inventorying our own behavior. Other 12 steps fellowships tend to limit a review of family dynamics. In ACA, we look at our parents' behavior, family roles, rules, messages, abuse, neglect, and how that affects us as adults. We balance the inventory of our family system with a thorough inventory of our own behavior. Most of us peep ahead to steps 8 and 9 and sense that we have amends to make to various people, including our parents, who have harmed us as children. Oftentimes, this harm is the vulgar act of incest, physical abuse, or mental and emotional abuse by sick parents and caregivers. It is not the purpose of the 12 steps of ACA to place blame on the parents or caregivers. However, the adult child must also not shield the parents during the inventory process. Our co-founder, Tony A., believed that adult children could take a blameless inventory of his or her parents. That means the adult child can name the types of abuse that occurred and the role-playing necessary to survive the upbringing. However, with a blameless inventory, the adult child also realizes the generational nature of such abuse and neglect. The parents were passing on some form of what was done to them. In preparing to make amends to our parents, we must develop a gentler manner towards ourselves. ACA's fourth step stresses this process. We must balance taking responsibility for misdeeds committed as an adult with the knowledge that our mistakes probably have their origin in the abuse that we endured as children. We seek balance. We don't want to use our childhood abuse as an excuse to avoid taking responsibility for our actions as adults. But we also do not want to belittle ourselves for these mistakes or abuses. Adult children can be brutally hard on themselves for making mistakes. We condemn ourselves and rage at ourselves with ease. This serves no good purpose and only means that we have learned to abuse ourselves. No one needs to beat up an adult child. We do it ourselves long after our parents or relatives have stopped. We need to stop this self-condemning behavior. We can take full responsibility for our actions, knowing that our childhood abuse contributed to our abuses as an adult. We also know that we are not blaming anyone for our adult behavior. We are learning to love ourselves. We can do this. Making amends to parents or caregivers is a personal choice, which should be considered with the help of a sponsor, trusted friend, or informed counselor. These issues surface in detail in step 4, along with the conditions of abuse that we endured as children. These issues, while we encourage ACA members to avoid looking ahead in the steps, we believe it is appropriate here to plant the seeds of common sense for later steps. For too many years, adult children have been sent to make amends to abusive parents without being given greater options. This cannot continue. There are conditions of abuse to consider, which will be discussed in greater detail in this workbook. Our experience shows that there is a way to make amends to abusive or neglectful parents while protecting oneself. We can proceed courageously with this knowledge. In step 4, we also shatter the cardinal rules of family dysfunction. The don't talk rule that most of us learned as children is broken so that a self-inventory can be fully reached. Breaking this rule began in step 1 with the admission of being powerless over the effects of alcoholism and family dysfunction. When we work steps 4 and 5, we also break the rules of don't trust and don't feel by listening and articulating our life story in a structured manner. We learn to trust the person to whom we tell our story. We feel the feelings that arise by sharing such information. This sharing of our story with our sponsor or informed counselor reveals destructive patterns in our adult lives while illuminating abuses from our childhood. We also begin to see our grief or stored loss lying beneath our decisions to wrong ourselves and others. In step 4, the adult child learns to name the acts of abandonment, shame, and other forms of abuse practiced by dysfunctional parents. At the same time, in step 4, the adult child lists his or her own defects of character, acts of selfishness, and blame that allowed the adult child to rationalize destructive behavior or reject real solutions.